Welcome everyone to the Atlanta Dunia podcast Parikrama. I'm your host, Mukesh Pandya, and today we are going to talk to Umang Thakkar on taxes. Umang is here with me today in the studio. Hello, Umang.
Hello, Mukesh. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure, Mukesh. My name is Umang Thakkar. I'm the founder and owner of IncorpTaxAct. I'm an enrolled agent with over 15 years of experience in the areas of taxation, accounting, and payroll. Our firm serves a variety of tax clients, including individuals, small businesses, trusts, and numerous high net worth individuals as well as professionals, including foreign nationals, to support filing their taxes here in the U.S. and India. And, our firm has been there for the last 10 plus years, and we are here to support a wide variety of our clients.
Oh, good. Given the current scenario, since we are the virus is in the news and it's affecting the entire world, what are the latest updates from the government for tax filing?
Sure. So the deadline that was supposed to be April 15, which earlier until end of last week was not changed, and they only extended in the middle of this week to pay your taxes, penalties, and interest up to July 15th. They have now extended that, including the tax filing, to July 15th, which means you do not need to file your taxes by April 15th. You have time to July 15th to file your taxes and pay your taxes as well. There would be absolutely no interest and penalties for amounts that are paid up to July 15th. So people, taxpayers and the tax consultants, everybody around the United States have some sort of a breather or a respite to put their documents together, to go out and meet their tax consultants and get it completed. As we all know that, we are kind of in a partial lockdown situation where we are social distancing ourselves. You want to keep yourself safe. You want to keep your family safe. And of course, even the tax consultants, they worry about their health. So it's much better that, you kind of delay it a little bit until this thing settles down, since government has given you 3 more months to file your taxes and pay your taxes.
Right. Okay. So is the government offering any loans or any special packages to businesses in these situations?
Yes. So right now, basically, there is a proposal in the Congress to give some sort of stimulus package of close to $1.2 trillion. And a lot will probably be into the airline industry or even the hotel industry, the travel industry that has got severely impacted. But that does not mean that the small businesses, which we are mainly part of, would not have some sort of support. Currently, SBA, the SBA loans have been offered at a much lower interest to support the payables of the company, to support the payroll of the company. So there are links available, and while this podcast is done, my team would definitely send it to Nisha and Atlanta Dunia, that link, to post it for any small businesses that need support from the government. So yes, they can apply these loans at a much lower interest and pay their bills and payroll in a timely manner.
Oh, good. And in the people who are employed, is there any support from Georgia Department of Labor for if there are any layoffs?
Yeah, so, what we are seeing currently, Mukesh, we are seeing sort of a partial unemployment. And when I say partial unemployment, is people are telling their employees saying, hey, we are closed for business until we start again. We cannot truly have you employed over here and make your payroll happen. So, but you do have a job. We will give you jobs once we open back up 100%. So what's creating is, that sort of a partial unemployment. And Georgia Department of Labor has opened up partial unemployment claims right now. Employers are required to file those claims on behalf of their employees. They can visit Georgia DOL website and file those claims. What that would support these employees is they would give some sort of an unemployment amount to these employees during the times when they are not being paid by the employer. Again, we'll send that link across to Nisha and Atlanta Dunia to post it for the podcast viewers.
Oh, good. All right. So moving away from the virus situation, I thought we'd just address a couple of other issues for taxes generally. For going back to the Super Bowl, where there was a lot of advertising by tax software that it's very simple. So I guess the listeners would like to know why would they want to use the services of a tax consulting firm instead of some software. So can you itemize what your firm can offer?
Sure, certainly. So, the biggest difference, Mukesh, mainly is, either you're doing it yourself or you're taking help of a professional. Now, our job is to keep up with all the tax laws. Our job is to keep up with all the changes and the updates that go in. We are constantly, reading different circulars and materials that are coming out of Department of Treasury to understand how it impacts our taxpayers. Now, as an individual, a person may not have enough time nor enough understanding of what those particular laws pertain to their situation. A lot of time, we see simple misses such as, HSA deductions or IRA deductions, or even to that matter, even if you have a rental property, they may miss depreciating on the rental property. Now, these small misses could impact your tax returns in a much larger way through amounts. So, why you want to go to a consultant is basically, to ensure that your taxes are correctly done, accurately done. You are keeping up with all the changes that are happening around in the U.S. tax code. So sometimes, it's basically if you spend money on a tax consultant, you may probably get way better returns than you would get it yourself.
For the software. Okay, that's very good. So moving on, the FATCA legislation has been in place for some time now. Can you provide a brief summary for our listeners as to how it would impact their 2019 income tax return?
Certainly. So there are three things pertaining to foreign income and foreign assets that individuals have to be privy to. The first point is, any income that you earn abroad is taxable in the United States. U.S. considers global income, which means irrespective whether you earn that income in India, in Pakistan, Bangladesh, or any other countries for that matter, even if you have any investments in Dubai or Australia or anywhere else, they all will be subject to income taxes in the United States. So report your 100% global income in the U.S. tax return. Now, the good news is U.S. has double taxation treaty with a lot of these countries, especially with India. So if you are paying taxes in India on this particular aspect of income that you earned in India, U.S. will give you a tax credit of the taxes that you pay to the Indian government. So truly there is no double taxation here. You do get tax credit for the amount that you paid in a foreign country, but from the reporting perspective, you do have to report your foreign income in the United States. Now, going a step forward, if you do have bank accounts and balances over $10,000, on any given day, then you are subject to report foreign bank account reporting requirements as well, which is very commonly called as FBAR. People were not privy to a few years back, but now I see a lot more of our community folks filing FBAR forms, which is the foreign bank account reporting forms. Now, this is more of a reporting requirement. The U.S. government wants to know where all in the world you have your assets, mainly bank balances, stocks, mutual funds, some sort of liquid assets that they want reported. And the same thing, if it crosses $100,000 in balances, then of course there is a FATCA, which is the Foreign Asset Transaction Compliance Act, where you need to file Form 8938 and report that along with your tax return. For users, for our customers, they need to know that all these forms have to be filed now along with your tax return. The time when you file your 1040, you need to submit your FBAR form and you need to submit the Form 8938. So the due dates of all this is the due date of your tax return.
Right. So your firm would help complete these forms for the clients, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, we take care of the entire compliance. In fact, we have an office in India as well, which would support filing India tax returns while the person is over here, so they do not have to worry, and we take care of both sides of the spectrum.
Right. Okay, moving on to the last couple of questions for this podcast. For individuals running, and we have a lot of micro businesses in the Atlanta area, individuals running retail businesses from homes, small businesses, what expenses can they generally claim to reduce their tax bill? And are there any consequences for claiming those?
Sure. So, to generate any income, whatever expenses you make truly is deductible. And the two words that I always tell my clients is they have to be ordinary in nature and necessary in nature to conduct your business, because that is how IRS looks at it. If an expense is ordinary and necessary to conduct that business, they are deductible. To give you an example, right? I mean, if you're running a business from your basement, from your home, now you need to go out and pick up supplies. You need to go out and meet your tax consultant. You need to go out and meet your client somewhere. Now, all those mileages could be written off. If you were, taking somebody out on a meeting and you ended up spending on a particular meal, then that meal expenses would be deductible. Any supplies that you pick up, any computers, laptops, iPads, anything that you use pertaining for your business income generation are truly deductible. Now, when you're running it from your home, there could be a home office deduction. Users and taxpayers just need to be careful that that's the number one auditable item by the IRS. So do not misuse or overuse it. Only the area that you're using specifically for your business, that particular area should be deducted in terms of utilities and other expenses. And any furniture that you buy for that business or anything else pertaining to conduct an operation of a business are all deductible there.
Right. So you could say, for example, 10% of your utilities if you're using one small room in your house, and that won't be challenged by the IRS, right?
Fairly speaking, yes. If you're using 10% of your house for business, then yes, 10% of the utilities would be prorated to the business expense. Correct.
Good. Okay. All right. And then coming up to the final question, a lot of people are incurring medical expenses, and with the expense related to hospital visits as well as medications. What's the situation regarding claiming those on the 2019 tax return?
Sure. So medical expenses, are part of itemized deductions, Mukesh. And nowadays, with the current tax act, the Tax Jobs Act that President Trump passed, he has raised the standard deduction for merit filers to $24,400. And with that happening, a lot of people are actually not qualifying to, deduct their itemized deductions. Now, medical expenses has a further caveat as part of the itemized deduction. Your medical expenses has to be over 7.5% of your income for it to be deductible. So assuming if a couple has an adjusted gross income of $100,000, 7.5% works out to $7,500. Then the first dollar you spend after $7,500 is the deductible amount for medical expenses. Assuming that somebody does have it, then yes, they can make it part of their itemized deductions. Now, what would be deductible in medical expenses? Everything from hospital expenses, lab fees, ambulance, paramedics, doctor visits out of pocket, medications out of pocket, health insurance premiums you pay out of pocket, or long-term care premiums you pay out of pocket, vision, dental, everything that you paid out of pocket would come under that medical expenses, and that has to cross 7.5% of your income for it to be deductible.
Right. Okay. I'm sure that's very helpful for the listeners. You are listening to Umang Thakkar, who is with us today on this podcast. Thank you, Umang, for the podcast and your information. And Umang is the founder of IncorpTaxAct Tax Services, and their company has helped the Indian community in preparing taxes over the years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mukesh.